I think if you want to build a brand, especially in the F&B space, you have to be an omni-channel brand, because I believe that you need to be present where the customer is buying.
But what do you think? What makes French food so unique?
We will not use a paste which has been like preserved like ek saal pehle. I just thought one day ki can't be so difficult to make a jam. I'm a good cook. So just googled a little bit, experimented, like made a batch of banana jam, usme thodi rum dal di, old monk. And that's how actually the first product came into being, you know, banana rum jam.
Why rum though?
I started supplying to the Oberoi hotel.
What changed when Oberoi deal happened?
I think the credibility of the brand.
So how do you understand the customer then?
I think by a lot of communication.
How to find a gap in the market?
When you feel you're missing something in your own lifestyle or your habits.
So if anybody wants to get into food business today, do they really have to have technical know-how? अपेक्षा बहुत मजा आने वाला है आज बहुत बहुत क्रेजी इंसाइट्स निकल के आएंगी फूड बिजनेस के बारे में एंड मैं जो टिपिकली बहुत ज़्यादा इंटरेस्टेड हुआ था ना जब व्हेन आई वाज लुकिंग एंड रिसर्चिंग अबाउट यू वाज द फैक्ट दैट व्हेन यू स्टार्टेड एंड यू बिकेम एन एक्सीडेंटल एंटरप्रेन्योर राइट मतलब योर इंटेंशन वाज नॉट टू बिकम एन एंटरप्रेन्योर राइट नॉट एट ऑल राइट
नो
एंड वो रम जो जैम थी उससे शुरुआत हुई और अब आप द गोurmet जार का जो ब्रांड है उसको रन कर रहे हो उसको सक्सेसफुली स्केल कर रहे हो तो पूरी जर्नी समझने वाले हैं एंड बिफोर वी डाइव इनटू एवरी एस्पेक्ट ऑफ दैट हमारे शो का एक रिचुअल रहता है कि एक प्लेज लेनी होती है हमारे यहाँ पे कि आप जो बोलोगे सच के सिवा कुछ नहीं बोलोगे
yes
तो आप फटाफट से प्लेज ले लो एंड देन वी start playing Zenga with you and start having some fun and start learning about the business.
Yes, जो भी बोलूंगी सच बोलूंगी उसके अलावा कुछ नहीं बोलूंगी.
Amazing. थोड़ा सा पहले अपने बारे में बताओ यू नो कहाँ से आते हो एंड अभी तक क्या किया है a little bit very briefly and then we jump into what the gourmet jar is all about.
Okay. Yeah. So I am from Meerut, born and brought up there, but didn't study there a lot. Went to boarding school in Mussoorie when I was 6 years old. So did half my schooling from Mussoorie and then half back from Meerut. And then I came to Delhi for college when I was 17. तो मोस्टली मेरी अडल्ट लाइफ दिल्ली एनसीआर में निकली है. So did my college here and then I did economics from LSR. Realized in my third year that I don't want a 9 to 5 job.
But you must be definitely very studious, sir.
I was, yeah.
99, 98,
yeah.
easily.
98 नहीं चाहिए था उस समय पे. उस समय 91, 92 में हो जाता था. This is long back. Abhi is very different, but उस समय 90, 91 was good enough to get into eco LSR.
But do you think your boarding school have pushed you towards that grade?
Maybe, yeah, I was more disciplined, you know, regular studies, because boarding school में it's not like कि बस exam से 3 दिन पहले, you know, रट रहे हैं. It's more like on a daily basis, you know, you study and understand and like even before, I was always a child, before exams, I would be watching TV because...
before 6th?
Even after that. Because my way of studying was always like कि I want to understand. If I understand, I will remember. And रटना मेरे को नहीं आता था. तो I was always like, you know, कि पहले से पढ़ाई करके रखी हुई है, एग्जाम से पहले कोई टेंशन नहीं होती थी. Except history and civics, because dates बहुत होती थी. So I used to, you know, get a little this thing because I can't ratto, you know, numbers. Okay. That's why. So yeah, I just after when I came to college, I realized कि I don't want a typical, you know, सब लोग GMAT की तैयारी कर रहे थे, MBA, all of that. I didn't want to do that. Then I did my post graduation in mass communication. Again, same thing. After that, I realized मुझे advertising में काम नहीं करना है, 9 to 5 job नहीं करनी है. And coincidentally, on the side, like summer holidays and all, I had started to learn French, and I really enjoyed it. I had a knack for languages. Or I had been pursuing, you know, French over 2-3 years, and I was pretty good at speaking by the time I finished my post-graduation. And I went to France, studied in Paris, like an advanced level of French for a few months. And then basically came back here and ended up becoming a French teacher because I didn't want a 9 to 5 job and I didn't want a corporate job. But उस समय ये नहीं पता था that I'll eventually sign up for a, you know, 24/7 job. Because I think being an entrepreneur is a 24/7 job.
Totally.
So yeah, that's how kind of life played out. And after you know, after my post graduation, I took some time off. फिर मैंने, you know, French सिखाना शुरू करा. I got married. I moved to Bangalore. Then ended up moving to France again after marriage, a couple of years after marriage with my ex-husband now. And वहाँ पे when we were, you know, I was always a good cook. and had an interest in cooking and experimenting in the kitchen. And then over there, I started a food blog. This was in the year 2008-9. And while blogging, obviously living in Paris, beautiful ingredients, amazing produce, got to explore a lot of different kind of food that we had not grown up, eating in India, and was doing the food blogging and, just experimenting a lot. And on a holiday to Burgundy, we happened to try this banana jam. We were staying at a very small bed and breakfast, and it was like a freshly made jam. Banana jam, first of all, जो हमने कभी इंडिया में खाया नहीं, we were used to mango, pineapple, mixed fruit, all of that, but banana jam was something which was completely unique. And we kind of fell in love with that jam. And then we moved back to India 2010, and I was at that time heavily into food blogging, and food blogging was a new thing. Like blogging was a new thing
2010 में तो बहुत ज़्यादा था.
Blogging was kind of just starting out and all of that. So I was amongst, I think, one of the first few food bloggers in Delhi. And while doing that, like, just thought of that banana jam many times and tried to recreate that. I just thought one day ki, it can't be so difficult to make a jam. I'm a good cook. So just Googled a little bit, experimented, like made a batch of banana jam, usme thodi rum dal di, old monk. And that's how actually the first product came into being, banana rum jam.
Why rum though?
I mean, I just felt ki, because, it's very Jamaican flavor, banana, rum. Like, you use in cocktails also, with rum cocktails, banana is very popular. And, cinnamon, banana, rum, they just go together.
Okay.
And because I've always been like good with flavor combinations, and, so I just felt like banana, rum and cinnamon, acha combination. So I tried that. And that's how the first flavor actually came into existence. And then slowly friends and family, like I started making more flavors at home. I stopped buying from the market, started experimenting, making more jams and preserves. And I was doing unique things, like banana rum jam, mango jalapeno preserve. So I made an orange whiskey marmalade that time. So dheere friends and family started asking when they would try it. They were like, I want a bottle, I want a bottle. So this was about 2011-12. And then I realized that, okay, what I'm doing is something very unique. It doesn't really exist in the Indian market. 2012 में, this organic, naturally, मतलब start ही हो रहा था. They were not really, you didn't really have artisanal brands in India. E-commerce also was not a thing उस समय पे. I think Amazon was just kind of coming in.
Yeah. 15-16 के आसपास ज़्यादा हुआ था.
This was pre-Instagram, all of that.
True.
And so I just thought that, what I'm doing is very unique. I just felt there's a gap in the market because especially उस समय मैंने jams and preserves से शुरू करा था. So jams and preserves में the Indian market was full of, all these synthetic, full of chemicals, additives, coloring, all these Indian preserves. And then you had the imported ones, basically. And at that time, obviously, imported was considered gourmet. And, it is better for you, whatever. So I just felt it doesn't really exist. I was like, let me try to sell it. And then it literally began from my home kitchen in 2012. With I just set up a Facebook page, and Instagram to usme tha nahi, so Facebook and Twitter, and I got my first few customers on Twitter literally. And because I was in the blogging scene, so other food bloggers also mentioned about it, and I got a lot of good PR, a lot of magazine articles, newspaper articles who wrote about it. And because what I was doing was very unique, it was one of the first artisanal, you can say, jams into the brand that time in India. So that's how the kind of journey of the gourmet jar began.
I wanted to ask you, पहले बाद में आपकी turn है. Your plates देंगे तो?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
But
you want me to help you?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. My question to you is, आपने बोला यार you got orders from Twitter, right? Normally it's not easy to get into Twitter. Facebook, Instagram तो चलो उस टाइम पे नहीं था, but Facebook और ये सब फिर भी समझ में आता है लोगों को, right? Do you think your ability to write and blog helped you get more deals on Twitter, or the fact that your product was very good? Which one, either of these, played a more important role in getting, good orders from Twitter?
I think the fact that the product was very unique. I don't even know about good, because us time pe when somebody was ordering for the first time, they didn't know if it was good. But the fact that it was very unique for that time, like what I was doing was very, did not really exist. Like at that time, where would you find like a banana rum jam? Forget about banana rum, even a banana jam in India, right? Or that you would find like a mango jalapeno combination, or I had like a plum cointreau preserve, like, basically a lot of these kind of things. And that's what got attention. I feel that it was very different. You could not write a lot on Twitter us time pe. So it's not like, I was writing about it. But I think it was just the network of bloggers that I was in, plus the fact that I was creating something very unique. That's what kind of people got curious about and started placing orders.
So at the end of the day, the product plays more important role.
Of course, yeah.
And that also only helped you in getting more deals.
Definitely, yeah.
आप फ्रेंच की बात कर रहे थे, फ्रांस की बात कर रहे थे, and you were talking about कि यार इंडिया में ना ये चीजें नहीं मिलती. what kind of foods you generally get in there which you don't find in India? At least तब की बात करें तो.
तब की बात, हाँ, because now it's very different.
Now
the world
different
is
है,
now you get everything over here.
Correct.
But उस समय पे like you know just access to good pure ingredients basically, right? Even fresh produce में, whether it was, I mean, keeping aside my business, but just good salad leaves, उस समय पे बहुत मुश्किल होता था to get like you know rocket leaves and even just purer ingredients, or if a good mustard sauce, or you know products that you can which are without additives and without you know artificial ingredients basically. That was very difficult. Plus, I think good produce, because focus on the quality of produce was not that much, I feel, as it is now. उस समय पे hydroponic वगैरह कुछ था नहीं, right? So now it's much easier to get like salad leaves or you know even cherry tomatoes and all these basic things which are considered gourmet. But उस समय पे ये सब it was very very rare to get it over here. And even good cheese, I think the cheese industry has come a long way in India.
10-12 सालों में तो बहुत ज़्यादा evolve हुई है.
Exactly. So 10 साल पहले 12 साल पहले like you know cheese was like very very rare, like
अमूल
a good
चीज ही था
cheese.
तब बस. चीज के नाम पे वही मिलता
Exactly.
था.
और imported वाले होते थे which were very expensive.
Yeah, correct. But what do you think? What makes French food so unique?
I think the fact that they focus so much on high quality ingredients.
Okay.
And freshness of the ingredients, you know. And I think also they do a lot of things from scratch basically. They don't believe in a lot of processed food and you know a lot of like purana saman. Like,
they believe more in cooking.
They cook a lot and they make things from scratch, you know. I mean that's French gastronomy is known for that, like you know their
so अगर मैं example दूं तो जैसे हमारे यहाँ पे garlic अदरक का paste आता है बना बनाया, right? And we just use it. That's more of a processed garlic अदरक paste, right? वहाँ पे they try and prefer to make it their own.
They will cut fresh garlic. They will not use a paste which has been like preserved like एक साल पहले.
Got it. That's the only difference?
I think that, and of course the attention to detail, you know, the quality ingredients, focus on that. And I think they are more subtle with their flavors. Of course India is very different.
Yeah,
we use a lot of
spices,
masala, but that's what makes our cuisine unique, right? So that's a different thing. But वहाँ पे they're very subtle. They let the produce shine, I feel. Like, you know, they don't drown it in a lot of spices.
I feel they're more colorful also.
And you know, so if you haven't, say, even a simple beetroot, right? It will be like the star ingredient in a way. You can feel the beetroot ka taste, uska texture, all of that. Which here, of course, our style of cooking is more like a lot of spices and, you know, ginger and garlic and all that. So you don't feel the main vegetable that much, you know. It's not the star as such.
वो सब मसालों में mix हो जाता है.
Yeah.
Correct. But anyway, you started then in 2012. 12, yeah. उसके बाद क्या हुआ?
उसके बाद, so when I started, so पहले it was a home business for like the first 2-3 years.
But what was the first step you took? Like you just made the packaged?
Setting a Facebook page and a Twitter account. I already had that actually because of the blogging. So I just started posting on that. So first step was creating a logo. पहले नाम आया, फिर logo आया. That also I kind of got it designed online from some, you know, you had these people who do this freelance work. So I just, it was like, it hardly cost me anything to make the logo.
But why did you decide to name it the Gourmet jar?
Honestly, I can't remember, because one thing was that I was making stuff in jars. You know, that was, the jar came from there. And I think the word gourmet just came because that was the style of food that I was making. It was different. It was a little exotic. It was a little like, you know, refined, you can say. And I think it just came from my experience. I had just come back from France and, you know, that whole thing came with me. So it was I think
that was more about the vibe that you were carrying. Yeah,
it was more about the style of food that I was cooking at home and also that I was interested in. So, you know, that's how it came about.
Okay. Yeah, you were telling further.
So, logo बनाया and then I had started with I think 3 flavors. तो वो 3 flavor के label बनाए. And that's when I went to like Old Delhi. I had to hunt for bottles. उस समय पे I did not have these kind of bottles. Actually, my whole branding, everything was very, very different at that time when I started, because it was like a home business and it was more of a अपने आप कर रही थी kitchen से, that kind of thing. So did some rounds of Old Delhi to find out. उस समय पे, you know, you could not get things online so easily. You know, even if I had to find a jar or a printer or something, you had to physically go visit Okla, Old Delhi, all of that.
Correct.
So found some jars and whatever, and then I started making small batches at home, like 2 kilo, 5 kilo के batches बनाती थी. And then I think the first push came with a lot of these farmers markets had started happening, you know. So I took part in a lot of these farmers markets and छोटे exhibitions and stuff like that, where I did a lot of sampling. You know? So people would taste the product and then they would immediately love it, you know. I think with my products, because they were so unique, so they had to taste it. So we did a lot of sampling and a lot of events, you know.
And you were doing this sampling at which locations?
So it depends. So farmers market, I remember Saket में, Select City Walk Mall में कभी करा था. There was some, you know, farmers markets happen in some green, like open, lawns or something like that. Like just, I don't remember, but different areas.
How were you getting the information? Facebook वगैरह events group से?
Generally, again, through my whole blogging, and and then of course there was some coverage in the media, because there were at that time 2012-13, a lot of articles, like right from India Today to HT to a lot of magazines, and Good Housekeeping, Good Food, everything. There were snippets that came, and I think that kind of was spreading a little bit, and that's how people used to contact me in a way. So I did a lot of these farmers markets events, got a lot of sampling done, and then people started really liking the products, and the response was really great. So that's how, like, initially it took off, and I was just making it from home and selling directly to customers like that. And again, online, Facebook. Us समय पे Facebook was easy to reach people. Like if you had 100 followers, all 100 would see your post.
Yeah. Tag भी कर सकते थे आप लोगों को.
Yeah. So that's how I started off, and then I think after a couple of years, my first break really came when I started supplying to the Oberoi hotels. This was 3 years into the journey. And
how did that happen?
So it was again, I think just coincidence, serendipity, whatever meant to be. So somebody, I think the Gurgaon Oberoi chef was looking for somebody in India to make jams and preserves. So they wanted to replace their imported brand and showcase an Indian brand, basically made in India thing. And I was supplying at this point to a few small stores, like a few organic, kirana shops, like premium kirana shops, and
or in Delhi NCR.
In Delhi NCR only, yeah. So I think one of them knew the chef, and he was asking them, and they recommended my name to that chef. And then he called me, went to the Oberoi for a meeting, and it took like 1 year of meetings and back and forth and negotiations. Yeah.
Okay.
Took a year of back and forth meetings, negotiations, and all that to get the contract. And I think that was the first big step in my journey, that I got the contract with the Oberoi group to supply.
1 साल की जो मेहनत थी, उतना वैल्यू भी था उसका?
Yeah, definitely.
अच्छा, okay. Yeah. फिर ठीक है.
It did pay off a lot. And then, so then I started supplying these mini jars, जो breakfast tables पे होते हैं, to the Oberoi group across the country. And then I had to obviously get out of home, hire a few people to help me out, get my license, all of that, set up a small unit. So that's how kind of it stepped out of home and became like I would say that's when I saw the potential of the business really. And
उससे पहले it was more like an hobby business.
उससे पहले it was more, that's why I never thought that I will, end up doing this. Like it was just okay, I'm making something interesting, I'm selling it from home.
So it's like hobby business.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
मतलब ठीक है, चल रहा है, साथ साथ कुछ कर रहे हैं, life enjoy कर रहे हैं, और पैसा भी आ रहा है, जो भी आ रहा है, जितना भी आ रहा है, I'm happy.
Yeah.
That was the kind of case that you had until Oberoi thing happened. So more than money, what changed when Oberoi deal happened?
I think the credibility of the brand, because obviously when the moment you're associated with a brand like Oberoi, I mean, it's a legacy brand, right? And to be supplying a product to them across India to all their hotels, it's a huge thing, I think.
So you were supplying to across India?
Across India, yeah. I got the central contract for the whole of Oberoi groups.
Did they do a pilot for one particular hotel in the beginning, or they just
not really, but there were a lot of trials that I did, a lot of sampling that I did. So I had to, that's something it took 1 year, because obviously I was learning also along the way, right? So they would give me feedback. I would tweak I would do a lot of experimentation.
What did you learn? Like top 2-3 things that you learned in the process?
In the process, I think the top thing is negotiation, because obviously they pushed me very, very hard on the pricing. And I think, but somehow I stood firm on a lot of things. And I think, even though I didn't really know ki kya ho raha hai, but I think that was the first thing I learned, negotiation.
Okay.
And, standing strong. That's one thing. And I think the second thing was how to think on a larger scale. Because obviously I was doing something from home. I was making small batches, 5, not even 10 kilos probably that time, 5 kilos each or something like that. And then obviously with Oberoi, suddenly you're talking bottles in thousands, right?
तो ये जो 5 kg का जो बैच बनाते थे, ये कितने दिन के लिए चलता था आपका?
अभी ऐसे याद नहीं, but like a 5 kg batch would give me what, 20 bottles maybe.
अच्छा.
Right?
और वो कितने दिन normally उस टाइम पे अगर कुछ याद हो तो कितने दिन चलती होंगी?
2-3 दिन maybe,
So every day you were selling 5 to 10 bottles.
Something like that, yeah.
Okay.
So suddenly you're talking about thousands of small jars, right? And then so the second thing I had to figure out was how to make this on a larger scale, right? And that's to ensure the quality is good. Of course, I made a lot of mistakes in that whole journey, and then there was a lot of tweaking that I had to do. They would sample, and then I would get back and do more trials. So that's how the product kind of had to develop it as per their requirements as such. So that took a lot of time. And then I think after that, I got the contract for the entire country together. Once they were satisfied with the samples.
So Oberoi thing in a way helped you structure it in a way that it became a business.
Yeah.
rather than it was just a hobby business earlier.
Correct, yeah.
अगर वो ना होता तो मेरे को लगता है शायद आप वही उसी फेज में होते maybe, or obviously something else would have happened.
Maybe,
Yeah, you don't know.
Don't know.
क्या पता क्या होता क्या नहीं
But that was definitely a game changer, I feel.
After that, did that same deal, Oberoi deal, help you get more other businesses?
Yes, I started supplying to other hotels also eventually.
हाँ, was it easy? कि मतलब ओबरॉय का नाम लिया और बस एंट्री मिल जाता था?
Not easy, but yes, of course, people started reaching out to me.
On their own?
हाँ, on their own. Because let's say you're working with a purchase person in, say, Oberoi Delhi, he'll move somewhere else, then he'll remember, okay, that this brand does this. So, from some other hotel he called, that's how it happened, right? It's like a snowball effect.
Correct.
So, धीरे-धीरे other hotels started reaching out and I started making it for other hotels as well, So, it definitely helped a lot.
But जो 2-3 साल थे जब ये ओबरॉय वाली डील नहीं हुई थी जब तक, right? What kept you going?
I think just the satisfaction of seeing people enjoy the products. Because, and that's what I didn't have any vision from the brand that time. I didn't have any intention of making this big or, scaling it up. It was just, that I'm making something which is different, unique, innovative. People are liking it, basically. When I would see people try it, and then want to buy a bottle, that I think gave me a lot of satisfaction. That, people are enjoying the food that I'm making. And because I've always liked to cook and I've always liked to feed people,
So it wasn't more about money?
No, it wasn't about, I was not making money at that time really. It was hardly anything. So the scale was very, very small. But I think it was just the passion for cooking and to see that other people are enjoying what I'm making. That is what kind of kept me going.
But before Oberoi thing happened, 2-3 साल जो थे, when you kept going, hustling, at any point you thought you want to give up? कभी ऐसा phase भी आया था?
No, not at that time, no.
Never?
No.
Okay. That's crazy.
Later on maybe, yeah, not in the initial years.
Later on when then?
I mean, later on it's been, of course, I think for me the 0 to 1 was easier. The 1 to 10 was harder.
So for a 20-year-old who is listening to this podcast today, what was the mistakes or learnings you had in 0 to 1 journey? And versus what was the mistakes or learnings you had in 1 to 10 journey?
So I think 0 to 1, it was a lot of learning in terms of scaling up. Because घर पे 1-2 किलो के बैच बनाना, 5 किलो के बैच बनाना versus making a 30, 40, 50 kg batch, 100 kg batch, it's very different. To scale up keeping the same quality, same consistency, same taste, that is very challenging. So that was, I think, the biggest learning in the initial years. Because like when this whole Oberoi thing also happened, like there were a lot of batches that went wrong, because I was suddenly making them at a large scale, and I did not realize the science behind it. So because I was passionate about cooking, yes, but I was not a technical person. I had not studied food science. So like for example, say a batch of strawberry jam is becoming dark, it's becoming brown instead of being a little reddish. I did not understand why that is happening, but I was making, say, instead of 10 kgs, I was making 50 kgs and I didn't know what was going wrong. So there were a lot of batches which went wrong.
So how did you correct them? You learned, you saw YouTube videos, you did a course?
I eventually had to hire a production person from a technical background.
Okay.
And I think that's when I learned a lot of the science bit about food, and that helped us kind of scale up while keeping the consistency and quality. So, because I think in food science, you will end up, studying all these things, right? So I realized that what was happening is because the batch was larger, I was cooking it for a longer time, the sugar was caramelizing a lot more. And that's what was turning brown and dark, So then we had to figure out a way to cook it lesser while, for a lesser time, while getting it to reach where we wanted to.
Got it. Yeah. So if anybody wants to get into food business today, let's say, do they really have to have technical know-how? Do you think that's important for them to have it, or they can get someone hire them?
Yeah, I mean, of course, you can like, even I did not have this know-how, but I learned over time, right? Yeah. So you don't have to have it necessarily when you start, but I think the first and most important thing is to have a palate to understand flavors, because I think when it comes to food product, your product is the hero, right? Your taste is the hero. If it doesn't taste good, your customer, maybe they'll buy once, twice, but they'll not come back a third time. So I really believe that the product has to taste good, for people to come back again and again and want to buy your product. So for the taste, you need to ya to you understand flavor and balance, or you hire somebody who understands that. Right? A lot of people do get into food business, they don't know it, but then they hire, you know, R&D person or somebody like a chef or somebody else who understands those things. That's also okay, I feel. But for me, it was just that I was passionate about cooking, and I think I have a very good knack for balancing flavors. That's what spurred me on this journey, and that's what sparked this whole, you know, brand in a way. So I think you can do it other, but yes, you have to understand flavor and balance. And then secondly, technical, when you want to scale up, then that's where the technical aspect really, you know, comes into play.
And what about 1 to 10?
1 to 10, I would say, has been harder because, you know, okay, you've scaled up to a certain level, but I think to scale up beyond a certain level, it requires a lot more money. You know? Shuru mein it was more word of mouth. It was a lot of things that, so I would say in my 0 to 1 journey, I was not really selling. I think people were reaching out to me on their own.
You were just fulfilling.
Yeah, it was like the first 3, 4, 5 years of my, I think, journey. I was not really going out and pitching or selling or making any efforts in that sense. It was more like people were trying the products, and of course, I was doing these events and stuff like that and putting myself out there. But people were reaching out to me. Word of mouth was happening. So a lot of people connected, stores, hotels, restaurants, all of that. But I think for after that, like the, you know, since the last say 5, 6 years, it's more like now you have to scale. So you have to consciously, you have to put a strategy together. How will you sell? Where? How to increase? So that is, I think, now I'm doing that bit, you know, versus the initial years when it was like you order aa rahe hain, bas fulfill. Like that time my challenge was order fulfill kaise karna hai, you know.
Demand hai, but usko supply ko kaise kare bas.
हाँ, demand आ रही है, supply कैसे करना है.
Now you
Now
have
it's
to
more
create
like, okay,
demand.
now I have to, you know, push the business to the next level. So I have to create the demand, right? Yeah.
Your turn, by the way. You play this often?
Not really often. I think maybe just on holidays, probably.
Okay. Which other games do you play though, or like to play?
I like to play like Pictionary or Taboo. Some of these in terms of, but then the occasions are very, very rare.
Diwali party and all.
Yeah, generally, no, I'm not. I'm fond of poker actually. Not very fond of teen patti, but poker I enjoy. तो वो हो जाता है कभी कभी.
Are you good at poker?
Not bad.
That's a good way to answer that. I'm not good, but I'm not bad. Yeah. But yeah, we were talking about demand creation, right? अभी सबसे बड़ा प्रॉब्लम ये आता है लोगों को, obviously you have been through that phase, right? And that's exactly the problem with every literally D2C company today. They reach to a point, they have a problem, they figure out क्या product बनाना है, वो बनाते हैं, iterate करते हैं, थोड़ा एक level पे पहुंचते हैं और उसके बाद growth is stagnant.
Yeah.
Distribution becomes a challenge. Demand creation becomes a challenge because everybody is now just putting ads on Instagram and trying to scale, and which is basically making it more costly.
Of course.
हर कोई वही उतनी इन्वेंट्री है Instagram पे, आप उतने ही लोग हैं Instagram पे, आप कितनों को सेम ad दिखाओगे, right? So what's the right way to scale now that you have done that or you're still learning to do that? क्या-क्या किया आपने scale करने के लिए?
You have to be 100% sure that your product is a good fit for the market and people want it.
How do you be 100% sure?
I mean, again, it's a lot of, you know, it's not something you know in 1 day or 2 days. Of course, you have to do a lot of sampling, see your repeat customers, right? Whether you're selling directly to a customer. I think repeats is what really tells you how good your product is, right?
What was your repeat at that time when you thought कि अब मेरा product का market fit आ गया है?
So the thing is, so I didn't sell directly to customers when I started out. Like, I mean, I'd sold initially 2 years when I was doing it from home. Yes, I was selling on, you know, Twitter and Facebook, and that time I had a healthy repeat rate. But I was not really monitoring data at that time to know, you know, numbers as such. I was selling literally on phone. No Shopify and all that time. Like, I did not have a Shopify store. But after that, when I started selling in retail, so shortly after Oberoi, I think in 2016-17, I started getting into retail. So I've been a you know, offline first brand for never really a D2C brand in the beginning. You know? For us, D2C actually happened after COVID.
Yeah.
So we were, because I started that, you know,
because
long
you're
back.
way ahead of D2C era.
So I started more offline. So we started supplying to stores in 2016-17. And
कौन से stores थे?
So I started with like, so initially it was a few small stores in Delhi NCR itself. Like, I don't know if you remember, Elma's used to be there in Hoskas. That was my first offline store.
I started in Hoskas, IIT Delhi.
Yeah. So Elma's used to be there, right? So they were my first like a customer, like a store.
So how did you ended up getting them on board? कैसे हुआ?
I mean, again, through these events, somewhere must have met, and I don't remember now, but one of the girls who was running that, she said, okay, why don't you put your products on our shelf and we'll sell it. So yeah, small stores like that in Delhi. And so there is still a store in Achini called Roots Organic. They kept my products, and there were 3-4 of these. There was one shop called Kirana or something in Meherchand long back. So that's how it started with the small store. Then after that, I think the bigger step was Food Hall and Nature's Basket and all that. So I think 2017, we kind of reached out to them and got a distributor and started supplying to these modern trade stores across the country. And I think my repeat was more that, okay, if the product is moving from the shelf of Nature's Basket or Food Hall and they are ordering again and again consistently, so that shows that, okay, there is a repeat rate because they are my customer in a way.
Right.
And we had obviously consistent order, and it's been like 7+ years since then, 7-8 years, and we're still supplying to them. Of course, Food Hall shut down, but other stores also. So I think that's where the repeat customers were. Obviously, if they are continuously buying from us since so long, that means my customers are buying from there again and again, right?
Okay. Yeah. Now let's say one has figured out कि उसने repeat देख लिया कि हमारा product का repeat है. अभी how do they go about creating distribution now? Should they focus more on currently D2C? Or they should focus in the beginning like you did in offline channel?
I think it's a very tricky question with no straight answer really, because the times are very different now. Yeah. And it is very expensive, I think now compared to earlier on.
Which is expensive?
Both
offline?
Are expensive, okay. I think. Both have their own challenges. So online, your customer acquisition is very expensive, because like you said, the inventory is limited. The number of people seeing Instagram and spending that time there is limited. And you have to outbid your competitors, right, in a way. So especially the last 2-3 years post-COVID, it's become very expensive to acquire customers online.
Correct.
And also, I think there is a lot more entrepreneurs that have come up post-COVID, right? The number of brands in every category.
Wave आ गई अब तो एकदम से.
Yeah. So there's a lot more to compete with now.
Yeah.
And I think so online has that challenge that you have to spend a lot to acquire customers. Maybe you don't make enough money online because especially in the F&B industry, because your fashion and lifestyle may be a little different because you have higher AOVs. I think in food and beverage, it's mostly you have like AOV of like 600, 700,000.
Average order value.
Yeah, average order value. So, and if you're spending 50% of that on acquiring a customer, 300 is a very easy, very good number to have as a customer acquisition cost. And so you're not left with much really, right? So it's become very expensive to scale it online unless you raise funding and you spend a lot on marketing. And offline, I think the challenge is, again, so offline, the space is limited, like any retail store, right? They have a limited number of shelves. They have a limited number of brands that they can put on. To put you in, they need to remove some other brand probably. And again, same thing, because of the amount of competition, because of the number of brands willing to pay them money to get on the shelf, it's become very difficult. And again, it costs a lot of money. So online, you are pumping in money on a regular basis, but it's rotating. Offline, you have to put a lot of money in listing fees initially. Although that's a one-time fee, but you have to have...
Are you talking about modern trade listing fee? Because in general, you don't have listing fee, right?
Modern trade.
Modern में रहती है listing fee, general में तो नहीं रहती है.
Modern trade. So if you want to get into the modern trade, then you have to pay a lot of listing fee, which goes into tens of lakhs, right? Depending on the number of SKUs you have, number of stores you want to be in. But typically, if you talk to anybody like a Nature's Basket or Modern Bazaar or whatever, you will have to spend like 5 to 10, 20 lakhs even.
Per year?
Not per year. This is a one-time thing.
Achha.
So that's the challenge with offline, that you have to be able to pay this upfront to get into the stores, right?
तो उस हिसाब से तो या तो आपके पास ऑलरेडी बहुत ज्यादा फंड्स हो, रेज किए हुए आपने, एंड या फिर आपका ऑनलाइन के थ्रू इतना अच्छा रेवेन्यू कैश फ्लो आ रहा है that you can put that money in the offline business, and you can get some listings in popular chains.
Right. So it's very tricky. I would say, like, there's no perfect answer or perfect path. I feel. Another thing is, if your product now is is not that expensive, is not that premium, then you can go the general trade route, right? So if you have a more premium gourmet product or a little more artisanal, then modern trade is the right path, right? But then you need a lot of money to get in. But if it's not that expensive or premium or whatever, then you can probably go to a GT, because GT में there's no listing. But वहाँ पे थोड़ा product push करना is harder, because in GT discoverability is low. Like in a modern trade, you know, a customer will be taking a cart and roaming around in the aisles, and they'll probably see the product on the shelf and they'll, you know, be like, okay, let me try this.
Correct.
But in GT, the way it functions mostly
GT
in
तो
India,
किराना हो गई ना
shops
आपके
हो
यहाँ,
गए,
वहाँ
right?
पे तो आपको दिखता ही नहीं कुछ क्या पड़ा है.
You just ask the भैया
कि
behind
मुझे
the
ये दे
counter
दो,
कि ये दे दो, ये दे दो,
मैगी दे दो या whatever दे
right?
दो.
So that's how, or like in Indian households, mostly it's the, you know, help who goes and buys
Correct.
from the kirana store, right? Or you call an order, right? So the discoverability is low. So there has to be a lot of push from your end to make it move off the shelf.
So if you are, let's say, running a TV ad for a brand, for let's say the Gourmet brand, Gourmet jar के लिए आप TV ad run कर रहे होते, तो it would have made more sense for you to have it in GT, because there the presence or brand recall would have been created now. मतलब फिर लोग उसको जाके मांगते ना कि मेरे को Gourmet jar का banana jam दे दो.
Or say if you're doing a newspaper ad and, you know, you go like the traditional way basically.
Correct.
Right? And
then
you
the
create
GT can
demand.
support you.
Yeah.
But if you just believe कि GT में रख दिया और product बिक जाएगा, तो भी नहीं
You
होगा.
have to create the demand. You have to push it.
Then you have to focus on modern trade.
Yeah. For discoverability, that's what they are charging you so much for, right? Because people come and it's more of an experience and not just ki jaake grocery kar li, right? It's more like, okay, you discover, you roam around, and there are some people who like to do that, right? Who are interested in cooking or, you know, wanting to try out new things.
Right. तो आपका cafes में ज़्यादा अच्छा product मेरे को लगता है push होने के chances रहते होंगे.
We do supply to some cafes, who use our products in their kitchen.
जहाँ पे pastries होती हैं, little cute, you know.
So bakeries work very well for us.
Bakeries.
Because people who go to buy, say, breads and, you know, all of this. So bakeries, we have a lot of success. We supply to a lot of bakeries in Delhi and Bombay and Bangalore. So those work very well for us. So
which channels currently use? So bakeries is one. Horeca पूरा ही हो गया basically.
So we are like an omni-channel brand. I think now there is no, like, the lines are very blurry. You cannot be only D2C, only offline, only Horeca. I think if you want to build a brand, especially in the F&B space, you have to be an omni-channel brand, because I believe that you need to be present where the customer is buying, where your customer is shopping, right? So whether it is, so we are available online on Amazon and our website, and then of course, you know, quick commerce like Blinkit and Swiggy. Then we are available in offline stores as well. In modern trade, we are available in premium GT stores. We are available in bakeries. We do supply to hotels and restaurants as well. We have bulk packs for their kitchen use, so they're, you know, making some recipes where they use our products. So yeah, so we try to be wherever our customer is.
But सबसे difficult channel कौन सा है इन सब में से? Anything that you just generally hate, but you still have to do it because you feel customer है यहाँ पे तो करना पड़ता है.
I would say both, like, you know, online and offline stores as well. So I think offline distribution, the challenge is because, you know, there's a long pipeline, right? You have, you supply to the distributor supply to the retailer, and this is a very simplistic one, right? The bigger you are, the more complicated it gets. And so there is a credit period issue also. Exactly. So you have a lot of inventory stuck in at different points between you and the customer. Then, of course, working capital, like, you know, you're selling on credit when you're selling to stores and to distributors. So you have to, like, have that much working capital. What's the typical credit period in this category? So, I mean, officially 45 days if you're an MSME. 60 दिन तक. 90 days is nothing, is easy. Like, if you get in 90 days, you should be happy. Really? You know, in offline stores, yeah. So 90 days का तो interest ही इतना ज़्यादा हो जाता है. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of brands you get. There are some stores where you get paid in like even 6 months. So 6 months. Yeah. So that's the thing, you know. On offline, you have to have that working capital, and the challenge is that, you know, your inventory is stuck, and then there's a long, and of your margins, right? Every stage, the bigger you are, then you have the more people, and the margin is getting cut, right? Online, again, the customer acquisition is just very expensive. Although it makes still more sense in that sense of, you know, that you get the customer data and you can remarket to them over time. And there's a certain customer lifetime value which you have because you're supplying directly. But at the same time, when you sell directly to customer from your website, it takes more time to reach them. Right? That is why people are preferring Blinkit or Swiggy, Instamart or Zepto, because it's, you know, it's just change change the lifestyle and the habits completely. I think consumer buying habits have changed significantly in the last 2 years. You know, nobody wants to step out now. Correct. Nobody wants to wait even 2 days or 3 days to get a product. 2 दिन की तो बात ही बहुत पुरानी हो गई. Yeah. So आधा घंटा looks like a very big. It's the benchmark now. You know, बहुत ज़्यादा wait हो गई. So I think the industry has changed a lot in the last 2 years, especially after the quick commerce wave. Right? It's completely changed consumers' lifestyles and habits. And so that's why I think being available there is very, very important as well. But again, it's very hard because there's again so many brands competing, and the dark stores are tiny. They only have limited space, right? So when did you start at D2C? So D2C is something, so we were always existing on D2C. We had our own website. It's been like 8-9 years.
Okay.
We were available on Amazon, but it was something that we were not focusing on. So pre-COVID, our revenue online, like through online channels, was about 3%, which was negligible, really. It was just not our focus, really, because of the way we had grown. But post-COVID, obviously, the 2020, 2021, footfall in stores was literally negligible. And my whole market was offline. I was supplying also a lot to Horeca at that point. So the tiny jars that we were doing, that was 30% of my business at that time. And that also shut down overnight, right? Because no hotels were shut. So in fact, that after that we took a conscious decision of not doing those mini jars, because 1 year we did not have that business.
So अब करते ही नहीं हो वो?
अब वो हम नहीं करते हैं, yeah.
But वो मांगते तो होंगे hotels?
They still do, but the margins over there are very, very tiny because it's something which is given FOC to the customer. It's on the breakfast table. People even take it back home, stuff like that. So it's very competitive and the margins are very low. So we've decided not to focus on that, but rather focus on bulk.
But उसपे आपकी branding होती थी?
Branding होती थी. That really helped us in a way because a lot of people discovered our brand in hotels. Yeah.
But वो आपको अब branding में help नहीं करेगा?
It does help, yeah. So maybe I will look at restarting that again, but not at the current moment, maybe in a year or so.
Maybe you can have a QR code or a number over there.
Yeah. So the Horeca business kind of completely went away, which was 30% of my business. Retail was, obviously very, very significant as well. So, I mean, retail was probably like 50% plus, right? That also reduced. It didn't die completely, but it reduced significantly.
Right.
So obviously the natural thing was to sell online, So we started immediately. That's when we actually started doing our Facebook ads and, focusing on Amazon.
उससे पहले ads नहीं थी?
उससे पहले नहीं करते थे ads, right? So we started doing that, and also there was a lot of opportunity because every COVID wave that happened, our sales spiked on our website, because people were not able to eat out. And I think what we bring to the table is the ease of cooking gourmet food at home, right? So people who want to have pizza, pasta, all of this at home, they need those, sauces and spreads, right? So they were ordering this because they wanted to have that restaurant style food at home. And I think that's when a lot of people turned chefs and everybody was experimenting, right? And everybody was making sort of gourmet food at home those days, right? So the demand for our products spiked, and our online sales kind of, we did record numbers in those months when every wave happened, right? And I think also food gives comfort to people. True. So when there was all of this happening, like, good food is something which you crave because it's like you couldn't really do much at that time.
Correct.
So we had people who had COVID and they would call and ask us, okay, leave it outside the door or whatever, because they really, I mean, that's the only thing you can look forward to, right? Correct. At that time. So people crave that, comfort of good food, or so having that was like, I think, the high point of their day, maybe, to cook something nice and enjoy it with your family,
So अभी क्या percentage split है online versus offline में?
So now it's kind of stabilized. So our online, like Amazon and Shopify and direct to customer, that way is more about like 10%.
अच्छा.
But of course, quick commerce, which is also, I mean, it's kind of hybrid, right, between online and offline. Its fulfillment is offline, but your orders are coming online. So that is about 40-50% of the business, 50% plus, I would say.
So majority is now quick commerce.
Majority is now quick commerce, yeah.
The rest 30-40% is the
retail.
offline.
Yeah.
Which do you think you want to scale now? मतलब कहाँ ज़्यादा focus करना चाहते हो आप?
I think I want to balance them. So definitely I want to keep the quick commerce under 50 because I don't want too much dependency there. I think
is that also a risk that people should look at?
It is, I think. I mean, at least I worry about it, right? Like if there's too much dependency, like if your 70-80% of your sales are coming from quick commerce, then, and that's a channel where you have to give discounts, where you have to advertise, you have to pump in a lot of money as well. So your margins do go down, then they take a lot of margin as well. So I feel that there has to be a healthy balance, I feel.
Was this thinking because of what happened in COVID?
I mean, yeah, probably. I think that's when we realized. So, like when our Horeca business kind of went away for a year, we saw a much healthier balance sheet at the end of the year, and we realized that it's better to do higher margin business. So that definitely changed the thought process a little bit more. And there, the focus was more on kind of the bottom line then, not just the top line, right? And especially, I think the last year and a half or so, with all the changes that have happened in the startup ecosystem, everybody is focusing a lot more on the bottom line now.
Correct.
And there's no, like that, there was that race to kind of, grow the top line and, even investors would only want you to pump in money to grow the top line. But now I think it's a more balanced approach.
Your turn, by the way, to balance this. But now, पहले तो नहीं थे कोई Gourmet jar के competition में, unique product था आपका. What is the situation now?
I think we still have a lot of competition.
Maybe you can try these ones. ये वाला आप कर लो. Yeah.
I think the condiment space that we are in, lots of new brands have come in after COVID. Because I think post-COVID, people realize that you need good condiments to make good food at home. And a lot more brands, small brands have popped up since then. But I
think they good?
Some of them are, yeah. But again, I think that, what sets us apart is that, one, we are not operating in only one category. There are a lot of brands who do say only jam and preserves, or there are some brands who do only sauces and spread, or somebody who's doing only honey, or so I think what we have is that we have a more portfolio approach, and we are doing products in different categories. So we have jam and preserves, we have the mustard and dips and sauces, and then we have the pasta and pizza sauces, then we have our salad dressing range as well. So I think what we're offering is a wider array, and whether you need something for your breakfast, whether it's jam or a honey, whether you need something for making your pastas or pizza or some more savory dishes, your lunch or dinner, we have something to offer you, right?
But how do you figure out these gaps? Like, I'm sure when you look at or evaluate कि pasta, pizza sauce बनानी है हमें, right? There must be multiple brands already doing that. Different categories में अलग competition होगा. Jam की category में अलग होगा. Pizza pasta sauce में अलग होगा. There may be some mature brands doing it for the last 50, even 100 years. तो हर एक में अलग-अलग type के challenges हैं और competition है. How do you guys figure out that this particular gap is something that we can solve uniquely? कोई पास में कोई product ऐसा निकाला हो जिसका आप example देके समझा सको थोड़ा. The reason I'm asking you is because let's say 20-year-old wants to figure out how to find a gap in the market. How should they look at the gap?
I think the best way to find gaps is when you feel you're missing something in your own lifestyle or your habits, or you feel and that's how a lot of businesses come into place, right? Like the founder feels okay that I wish this was available, or you're maybe making something at home, or you've had something when you're traveling and then you feel okay, this is missing in India, or this doesn't really exist.
वो तो jam के case में था आपके लिए. What about the future other products that you launched?
So I think so we launched pasta and pizza sauce in April 2020, actually just after COVID happened. And we had been working on it for the last like a year or so. In fact, we had not planned to launch it that time, but then when COVID happened, we kind of expedited it. And we were like, okay, now it's the right time, So the reason kind of we experimented, it was more of an approach of what is the, category which is growing fast. So I think we had seen some research and some numbers where it talked about the pasta sauce market in India and the fact that it's growing at a rate of 35% annually, which is a big number, right?
Correct.
And also at that time, I think I had started off making only jams and preserves. And I think once it turned into a business really, after 2015-16, I quickly realized that Indians eat limited amount of jams at home, right? It's something which is, doctors are like, jam mat khao. People don't have that much sweet breakfast because still most people have traditional Indian things for breakfast, whether it's paratha or upma or poha, whatever. So we realized very quickly that this is not a growing market, right? So it's good what I'm making, but to scale this will be a little challenging. So that's when I kind of started looking at more savory products. And I was making savory products at home also, like I was doing relishes, mustard, all of this at home. And the good thing is because I have a knack for flavor and creating recipes, so it wasn't that difficult for me to experiment. And realized that, when I think somehow this kind of came together, okay, pasta was something which was really coming in and people are making it more and more at home, versus just going out and eating pasta. So because of that change, plus, seeing that, okay, it's a market which is growing so fast, just felt that it's the right thing to get into, and that's what made us kind of get into the pizza and pasta sauce thing. Then from there on, I think it's also been a lot of customer insights. So because of today's day and age, when you're connected on Instagram, right, it's easy for people to reach out to you and message and, tell you what they're feeling. So when we started doing pizza pasta sauces, and we were using a lot of tomatoes, obviously. So some customers reached out and said that, you're making this and I love this pasta sauce, I love your pizza sauce. Why don't you do ketchup also, because you're using tomatoes and I don't want to give my children the traditional ketchup, because ketchup is known to be loaded with a lot of additives and emulsifiers and stabilizers and all that, and very less fresh tomato, or like tomato percentage is very less. It's a lot of sugar. And kids love
वो
ketchup.
सिर्फ कहने को लिखा होता है fresh tomato, but उसमें होते नहीं है.
And kids love ketchup, right? And most mothers know that ketchup is bad for their children, especially today.
अब तो सब रोटी के साथ भी ketchup चाहिए, हर चीज के साथ ketchup चाहिए.
So that's an insight that I think came from customers. So then we worked on ketchup and we launched ketchup 2 years back, and our ketchup is made from fresh tomatoes. It is low on sugar, it's low on calories, it is like a better for you ketchup in a way.
So it's a healthier option.
It's a healthier option, yeah, compared to the traditional one. So some of these insights, and then a lot of people ask for like, spicy. I think Indians love chili and spice. So a lot of people ask, oh, do you have something with habanero? Do you have like a spicy sauce? Do you have like a Szechuan sauce? Those are so we started creating more savory products. Like we made a momo dip, because I think momos again is something which is a growing market. People again with prosuma and all, they're having a lot of momos at home now. Pehle momos were a thing कि बाहर जाके खाते थे. Everybody's making it at home because it's so easy, right?
Is it so easy to make momos at home?
And not from scratch, but you get frozen ones. Right? So frozen momos are very easy to get.
मैं सोचूं मतलब ऐसे momos बना रहे लोग घर पे पता ही नहीं चल रहा.
Frozen ones, right?
Right.
It's just available everywhere.
Yeah.
So now with frozen momos, you're making it at home. So I just feel that people are having more and more of that. So then we thought that, okay, there's no good momo sauce or chutney that's available, right? So then we kind of launched that. So that's how now I think it's a combination of what customers want, plus I think market insight or the trends that we look at to kind of find that gap or find what the next product that we should be focusing on.
ये सब करते हुए कोई ऐसे प्रोडक्ट भी था जो सोचा हो इंटेंशन बना के कि चलेगा but chala nahi?
Of course, yeah.
Any example that you have?
So I think, yeah, of course I have many examples. So this was more in the early journey. Because shuru mein when I started this brand, the approach was more like, I like to eat this, so I will launch this.
Correct.
Right? That's how, because since I started this from a passion for cooking,
didn't
really think of it from a business perspective or ki what market opportunity size, all that. So I made a lot of products in the beginning which did not do well.
Which was the product?
So one of the biggest ones, I would say the biggest flop was the smoked aubergine relish.
What?
It was a smoked aubergine relish.
Okay.
Bangan, basically. So, and this was inspired from a holiday in Italy. So, Italy mein there's this dish caponata, which is made with aubergine, bangan. And I loved that, it's got capers, it's got aubergine, brinjal, it's got tomatoes, and, I found it really yummy. So, when I came back here, I was really inspired by that dish. And I was like, I want to make something to capture that essence. And I created a smoked aubergine relish, which is basically जैसे भरता के लिए हम बैंगन भूनते हैं, so it gets that smoky flavor. And I added some,
So was that bangan ka bharta?
That's what everybody. That's what happened, right? So firstly, I named it smoked aubergine relish. एक तो aubergine किसी को समझ में नहीं आता था, majority of the people.
Right.
Second thing is, nobody could think beyond bangan ka bharta, right? When they saw that or when they tasted that. Because I think in India, bangan and bharta are so closely tied that it's very hard to think of anything else.
But bharta could be of anything.
Could be, yeah. But
whenever you say bharta,
the moment you say bangan, the second word is bharta, right? For I think 99% of the people.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's very, very hard to break that association. And I think that was the product that failed miserably. Even though I think it was delicious, I would still love to make it at home. But I think it did not, go well because nobody understood it.
But from sauce to ketchups to this proper dish, you would call this a dish, right?
This was more of a relish, like, something you can spread on toast, like, yeah.
Got it. So not really a bharta, but more like a relish, which you're saying, but in a smoky flavor.
Yeah. It was more like a topping, like if you have bruschetta, right? You have tomatoes and also something like a different aubergine flavor or brinjal flavor topping for that.
Got it.
So, so that failed miserably.
So what exactly did you learn from this failure?
What I learned is to not... So that's when I stopped putting things out there which I enjoy. There were 2-3 products like that. I made an orange mustard.
Okay.
So it was a combination. So it was like a mustard, but like with the orange marmalade kind of flavor. And this is something again which was an inspiration from travels. So in Italy they put a lot of fruits in mustard. And I was inspired from there. So again, that's something which will. So my whole grain mustard, which is a classic mustard, that is like a bestseller. That did really well from the first day. Because I think what I learned is that people understand traditional flavors. Sometimes too much innovation can be a setback, and it backfired. So that's what I learned, that too much innovation is also not good. You have to understand your audience. You have to understand the customer. Maybe sometimes you are, too far ahead. Basically, that can also backfire.
Timing is also important.
Yeah, timing is important. Maybe I feel like today, if I was to launch an orange mustard, people would probably appreciate it more, because ab jo hai, people's tastes have evolved, with MasterChef, with people traveling so much.
Correct.
Right? थोड़ा mindset खुल गया, you are more aware, you are more open to experimentation.
Correct.
Now.
The OTT
versus,
also have pushed it a lot.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
versus like say 7, 8, 9 years back, people are still more not that experimental with their taste, So I think that's what I learned, that not to just blindly put whatever I am enjoying out there, but understand the customer and see if they really need this.
So how do you understand the customer then?
I think by a lot of communication, again on Instagram, WhatsApp, Now in today's day with technology, it's very easy to communicate with your customer. When you have customers who come there, they try, they talk to you. So that's a lot of feedback that you get. So which helps you understand your customers, I think.
Is it my turn or your turn?
I think yours.
Or is it mine? Really?
Is it okay?
Now it's becoming challenging. Yeah, got it. Okay. What I wanted to know now is, with the products that you're in, shelf life का तो बहुत बड़ा problem होता होगा. What's the shelf life of your products?
So luckily we've cracked that bit. So our products have a shelf life of 12 to 18 months naturally.
12 to 18 months.
Yeah. So this was a challenge.
And that's naturally.
That's naturally, yeah.
That's a crazy thing.
So again, that's where food technology kind of helps. So when I started the brand, everything was refrigerated, right? When I would sell the product, I would tell every customer कि fridge में रखना जाके. And also it was difficult because people in India used to keeping jams outside. Jam, ketchup, ये सब चीजें कोई fridge में रखता नहीं है, because traditionally the ones that you get, they have so many chemicals and preservatives that they'll never get spoiled, right? So I think that
अब जरूरत नहीं पड़ती fridge में रखने की?
अभी भी पड़ती है, after opening.
After opening,
yeah, of course. Okay. If it's a natural product, it will get spoiled. अगर आप घर पे कुछ खाना बनाते हो, you put it in the fridge, right? That's natural. Your natural instinct. You will not leave it outside.
So yours is no preservative at all.
So our products our brand philosophy is completely no preservative, no additives, no chemicals, no E number, I number. So we are a clean label brand. So all our labels, you will not see anything that you don't understand. So what I say is that we use ingredients which are available in your home kitchen. So if you read any of our labels,
So अगर मैं सीधी भाषा में बोलूँ, you will not write sucralose for sugar.
No. We don't, yeah.
सीधी भाषा में अगर बोले तो जो समझ में आता है लोगों को वही लिखते हो
और वही डालते हैं जो घर पे मिलता है. We don't have any ingredients that are like something that a customer or a normal person does not have access to, right? So there are no chemicals, no additives.
Well, this is how the companies usually play with your mind, right?
Right. Yeah.
They write something which technically means the same thing. But they will tell you in a way that you will not really figure out that it's sugar or something which is a chemical or bad for your health.
Yeah.
And that's how you believe in them or their story that it's good for you. Right?
Right.
तो अगर हम आपके जो bottles हैं, जो products हैं, वो खोल देते हैं और तब भी उसको रख देते हैं तो 12 से 18 महीने चलते हैं ऐसा?
No. So this is the unopened shelf life.
अच्छा.
ठीक है. So basically, so what happens is when you're the most challenging thing in F&B, I think, cold chain. If you have a product with a short shelf life which needs to be refrigerated, one is the logistics in our country are not good, like the cold chain logistics. You don't know कि कब वो fridge बंद हो गया, कब नहीं हुआ, कब temperature differences हो रहे हैं, all of that, right? Correct. So it's very challenging to manage cold chain logistics. So initially my brand was also cold chain, my products were cold chain, but then eventually we figured out a way. So it's basically packaging technology which creates a vacuum in the jar. So all our products are vacuum sealed. They're all natural completely, but we are just creating a vacuum so that there is no oxygen, and because of lack of oxygen, so no microbes or bacteria can grow in it.
Right.
But the moment you open it,
obviously oxygen comes in.
There's oxygen and there is a scope for so then the shelf life differs.
तो open करने के बाद कितना average shelf life रहता है?
So for the sauces and spreads, जो savory category है, उनके लिए like 15 दिन, 1 महीने. Like our pasta sauce, you have to finish in like 15 days. After you open, you keep it in the fridge. Jams, maybe even 6 to 8 months. Jams, because they have sugar, they're naturally preserved. Like, so they can even last for 8-9 months in the fridge after opening. But it differs. But mostly I would say savory products like around a month or so, and then the sweet ones like 6 months at least.
And do you think you can also increase it? Is there any further scope?
After opening or before?
Both.
I think after opening, no. Because after opening, you cannot control the environment. Once it's open, there's oxygen, there's water. And it also depends on how the customer are treating it.
Correct.
So sometimes if you say with the jam, you use a wet spoon, right? Moisture be, oxygen be, that's the best environment for mold to grow. So we get a lot of complaints sometimes from people, they're like, okay, I opened the jam, fungus lagi. Or a lot of people still leave it outside, because they're so used to it, like they feel like jam can be outside. And so we kind of educate them, we call them, we ask them, how did you store it? Then we tell them that, okay, ours is a natural product. So once you open, you have to refrigerate. So you cannot use a dirty spoon, you cannot use a wet spoon, because then, mold will grow. We generally send them a replacement, they're happy. But I think it's taken a lot of education for customers to realize that, okay, natural products, preservative-free products need to be treated differently. You can't just expect them to last forever in the same condition that you would keep a commercially processed product.
Got it. एक चीज मुझे ये बताओ कि अगर, since I'm assuming also, and you have to obviously correct me, when you market your products, is using the leverage that you have, which is clean, no preservative, is that the strength that you utilize, or is there anything else that you also focus on?
I think we focus on the taste, of course, because I think the balance of flavors is what also sets our products apart. Because I think that's what keeps the customer coming back to you, right? I've been doing this for like 10 plus years now, and I think
so it's the taste that drives, not the fact that it's less, preservatives or no preservatives.
No, it's both, of course. Taste drives the repeat purchase, right? When people buy it, they like it, they'll come back.
But what's the first reason they buy it?
I think the packaging, of course, whenever you see a product, sabse pehle you consume it with your eyes, right? And I think our packaging kind of stands apart. It looks very clean. We have a transparent label, so you can see the product inside. And that was a very conscious decision that I want to have a transparent label so that under ka product dikhega. Because you don't want, like sometimes you buy a product which has a opaque label, and maybe you open it, you see that it's very different from what you expected, right? So for me, it was I was very sure that I wanted a transparent label so people can see the color. If it's a jam, you can see kitna dark hai, kitna light, all that. And then the other thing is, I think it's a very clean, modern kind of packaging, and that's what attracts people. It's very attractive. Over years, people have told me that our packaging is really attractive. In fact, initially, everybody used to think it's an international brand. When I started off, people used to think it's an imported product.
Okay.
And only when they turned the bottle around, they saw it's made in Delhi, so they would realize it's an Indian brand. I had to tell a lot of people, now we're an Indian brand. So I think that worked to our advantage in a way at that time. And now, of course, people are very proud to buy made in India brands, right? So things have changed a lot. So it's the packaging, it's the flavors, and of course the fact that it's clean label, natural. I think post-COVID, there's a lot of awareness now. People are reading labels. They are wanting to eat clean. They even people who did not care about their health or did not focus on it before COVID. I think it's made us realize that nourishment is very important, and it has made people more aware and there's a desire to kind of eat better. It's not like they don't indulge. People still indulge. All of that is there, but at the same time, I think, and as people make more money, they want to shift towards better brands, right? Because that's how it reflects in their lifestyle in a way, right? When you can afford better, you will want to eat better.
Right. But if a 20-year-old wants to maybe start their business and do marketing for their company, what do you think you would recommend them? How do they go about marketing?
Marketing, I think you have to highlight what is different about your product, right? What makes you stand apart from the others? Your USPs, those are what you have to focus on, right? Whatever your USP is, what sets you apart.
Okay, let me rephrase this question to you. Can a D2C product, which is a Me Too product, which is more or less another face wash, another charcoal activated face wash that we see every day these days, what can they do better? Can they win the market just through marketing?
I think you can get your first order through marketing, because let's say I'm a consumer and I see a well made ad of a certain new product. again and again. Maybe first time I'll see, I won't look at it. Second time I'll see it, maybe I'll be curious, I'll click on it. Third, fourth time, maybe I'll add it to cart. Maybe the fifth time I end up, purchasing it.
Yeah.
Because I've been seeing it consistently. And it's speaking to me, it's well made. I'm like, okay, I'm curious, let's try it out. Right. So I'll probably make the first purchase just driven by marketing. But again, like I said, the product has to be of a certain, like it has to work. Right.
It has to deliver to the promise.
It has to deliver the promise, exactly. So once, if I don't like the product, then I'm not going to buy again, right? So then I think your, like I said, repeat is driven by the product performance, right? If I like it, then I will probably buy it again and I will tell 10 more people about it. I also strongly believe that word of mouth is something that you really need to focus on. Because I feel, and I think especially if it's a brand focusing on women or women-centric products, women talk a lot among themselves, So if you're able to create a product which is so good that women like it, they will talk to 10 of their friends about it. And
okay, what makes a women like a product?
I mean, it has to be effective, right?
For example, that's the only thing?
And I think, of course, it has to deliver at the end of the day, whether, especially if it's in this whole beauty or personal care space, right? Women, talk to each other. They'll be like, oh, I tried this, it's really nice. And then, you get influenced by them, right? When they talk amongst each other. Like, for example, I tell you this, the Good Bug, right? It's a brand, it's a fairly recent brand, like a newer brand. They do all these, gut healthy products and probiotics and stuff like that. And I think they have this one for weight management. And I had heard many of my friends talk about it, because if it's something that helped them lose weight, they will tell the other person, and so then from one person to another, that's like word of mouth, right? Before I even saw any ad, or before
you were aware of that.
I was aware of it just from word of mouth, right? From hearing about it from friends. So I think for women that really works, word of mouth. So I think ultimately the best kind of marketing is word of mouth, right?
But are women easier to sell to?
Not really, I don't think so.
Compared to men?
I don't think so. Women are more, I think, picky and fussy, and they'll, research a lot more than men. I think men will just see it and, okay, if the influence, they don't think that much before making a purchase, I feel. Women think.
But what influences? Like, आपने बोला कि deliver करना होगा promise को. Word of mouth तो समझ में आ गया, तभी आएगा.
Yeah.
Before, even when you are obviously trying it out, what pushes or what triggers or what influences a woman to buy?
I think something which is good for them, which they feel is like, good for their family. Okay. A good price point also. I think Indians are value seekers at the end of the day. And I think if you find something, which is, I think what the Indian consumer likes the most is convenience at a affordable price. Yeah.
That's Indian consumer overall.
Exactly. Yeah.
What about Indian women consumer?
Indian women are the same, I think, because Indian women are the ones who buy most of this, right? So I think they want convenience. They want, and especially I think today's generation, women who are under 40, they're busy, they're working, they don't want to spend hours cooking in the kitchen. They don't want to spend a lot of, time taking care of housework and stuff like that. So they want something which is convenient, right? And if that convenience comes at a reasonable price, an affordable price, of course, it can be slightly more than what they've been used to being traditionally, but it cannot be like super luxurious or unaffordable. That's, I think, the sweet spot, convenience at an affordable price, which is what women also want, right? Women want things that make their life easier, because women, I think, today have to deal with a lot more than 20 years back. Because women are working, you have to balance work and family, and I mean, still largely they do most of the work at home, and men still don't pitch in, not nearly enough as they should. So women are now like, earlier they were only taking care of the home and very few were working, and men would take care of work. But now it's like women are working also, and then they're taking care of home also. So they want products that make their life easier. And I think if something makes their life easier, if it's good for them, if it's convenient, if it's at a good value, then they will want to buy it.
What's your team size now?
About 36.
36. Yeah. Now, where do you want to go? Maybe 5 years, 3 years, 2 years down the line. क्या goal है? Eventual goal क्या है आपका?
Eventual, let's say like 10 years down the line.
Whichever you feel like you have figured out.
Yeah, so eventual goal is to kind of take this brand international. So let's say 5 to 10 years down the line, I want to be selling across the globe and maybe be one of the first few gourmet Indian brands. Because I feel that
but अभी क्या रोकता है आपको वो करने से?
Abhi a lot of resources, it requires a lot of time, resources, and I feel that we've not really captured the Indian market completely. Abhi there's a lot of scope in India. So I think next 3 to 4 years for sure I want to focus on India. And then the 5th year from now maybe start exploring the world. We have explored a little bit in the past. We have exported a little bit to Dubai. We've done Amazon US, but I think to do it
at a scale,
and you need a lot more time and resource, right? So
right.
But I think eventually I want that because I feel that our brand has the potential to be a global brand. We make products that are appreciated by people of all.
I believe there is
countries.
A premium that you can easily get outside India.
And I feel that the perception needs to change eventually, because India is known for a lot of spices and pickles and rice and all of it, which is more commodities, I would say. People don't associate fine food or gourmet or premium with India. But I think that is changing now. Like I feel that now, especially last 5 years, so many Indian brands have come up in the F&B space or even the non-F&B space, like the CPG space, which are delivering really good quality products, which can match up to international brands, easily. And that, I think, if we can start putting these products out there in the world, and people will start realizing that Indian brands are just as good. They're not like a second grade, country, or not like a second grade brand that is not as good for you as, say, an American or European brand, right? So I think we need to start being known for premium luxury gourmet as well. Something which like Forest Essentials has done very well, right? So that's what I see for my brand as well.
That's crazy. बहुत मजा आया पर मुझे आपसे बात करके. Thank you so much for being here. एक चीज मैंने लिखी थी, when you started out in the beginning you said that you learned French, right? And you have a knack for languages. तो फ्रेंच में अगर आपको बोलना हो कि प्लीज सब्सक्राइब टू द चैनल, तो हाउ वुड यू से दैट?
Inscrivez-vous à la chaîne.
And do say what was your feedback of coming to this podcast? How did you like it?
No, je me suis beaucoup amusée.
Okay, मुझे पता नहीं चला बट आपने बोला क्या, but sounded good. Yeah. But thank you so much for being so kind and coming here. I hope you had a good time.
I had a great time, yeah.
Amazing. Thank you.